You know, that's not nostalgia. There is something weird about modern games, and before this very moment I couldn't explain why. Older games feel so much better than the modern ones. Of course, I'm not talking about indie games and stuff, it's more about big projects, AAA titles, and the like. To be honest, this thought has been stuck in my mind for quite a while, because I've always felt that something just off with modern big releases. Like, why do remakes and new games from the last 5, 10 years feel kind of fake? Don't get me wrong, the graphics are amazing, the world are detailed, there are even new stories and Easter eggs, but it just doesn't feel the way it's supposed to. And then I realized that's exactly the reason why we can't get the same joy from modern gaming corporations. When I am playing an old, low graphic game, it feels natural, because even in modern games there is a lot of invisible and visible restrictions. For example, you can't interact with most objects, textures or buildings in the world. And apparently the more realistic the game looks, the stronger the feel of dissonance becomes. Like when I'm playing something like original Silent Hill or games from that era and I can't enter certain locations or break some objects, it feels fine because the graphics makes it clear that it's a game world, not a reality. Yet we still feel fear, anger, curiosity and all kind of emotions. The problem is that in modern games when the visual look too realistic and lifelike, our brains start asking a lot of questions unconsciously. Why can't I enter that building? Why can't I break the door or glass or window? Why can't I pick up that object? And stuff like this. You see, modern games look like they are full of life, but deep down they are empty. And that's the real disappointment, because at their core, these games haven't changed in 10, 20 or even 30 years. There are no new mechanics, no new ways to interact with the world, with objects inside of it, and it's just a beautiful picture that's hollow inside. That's why I simply can't enjoy most modern AAA games. They are trying so hard to copy reality, but they can't feel it with real depth. Not in gameplay, not in PCs, not in the world itself. It's sad, honestly. It's feel like progress only touched the graphics but forgot everything else. And that's why when you see a brand new game today, the only way to play it is still the same as it was 10 years ago. So the basic problem is that modern games have no soul. They're absolutely dead inside. They just look beautiful, but they don't have what to offer for players to really, distract them, to really mean something for them. Because for the most part, both gameplay and storytelling didn't just stop evolving, they actually started to degrade. We see these beautiful worlds, yet we clearly feel that they are made of plastic. It's kind of paradoxal. The most realistic a game looks like, the more unnatural it feels. And maybe it wouldn't be such a problem if not for the way our modern life has changed. You see, art and video games are part of that, is always a reflection of reality. Old games looked bad, sure, but they were so full inside that they were filled alive in our eyes, and my best example is a Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, because this game is so interesting despite its graphics so bad, despite it's really old and don't have a lot of this, modern stuff, but NPCs there and the game itself so deep. They got a lot of diversity in the nature, in the NPCs, in the weapons and stuff. You feel like somebody put their soul inside of this project, and it's feeling you can't even explain it, but it's the core of the game. And New Stalker 2, for example, absolutely has no soul. Unfortunately, NPC not feel alive. Nothing in this world feel alive. It's kinda really good picture without anything else, and there is a lot of games like this in modern world. But actually problem it's not a greedy or something like this. Actually problem is that our life has changed, and changed not in the best way. Because I will explain it to you. Back then, the world itself was slower. Games took longer to make and they were meant to last longer too. Modern life is cruel and fast. We barely have time to enjoy anything for real, so games had no choice but to become more casual. Back then, games weren't just products, they were stories, worlds that tried to say something to us, teach us morals, or say something really cool like different story. Bioshock, Stalker, Silent Hill, Resident Evil. That's games that has something new, some changes, and we played them over and over like they were replayable. But now it's not profitable anymore, so nowadays appearance is all that matters. We've got too many companies all fighting for our attention, and as a result, we've become overstimulated. We can't dive deep anymore. It's like, TikTok generation. The modern player needs bright colors, not real immersion. So the problem is that despite the astonishing progress in the graphic, everything else has de- degraded. Companies are so large that they can't afford unnecessary risk. They are afraid of the new, so they keep running the same scenarios over and over again, and I am sick of it, to be honest, because they work. But the only way to change this is to change the user and to change the world. And it's kinda sad for me because I don't need new graphics, I need new depths. I need novelty in gameplay and interesting story, a pleasant feeling of the unknown, a sense of enjoyment from the game's mechanics, from the short of weapon, from a blow, from the way I change the environment or dealing with NPCs in the world. But there is another nuance and perception. It lies in the excessive division of labor. You know, game now too big and complex. Even small things are handled by a huge number of different people. And in my opinion, this creates additional obstacles in the prescription of the world that are difficult to explain. But when I play the old games or Silent Hill, Resident Evil, whatever, I feel as if the world itself is a single entity and that even objects that are not involving in the game are more real. For example, when I see building that I cannot enter, my mind feels in the details of what should be there. My mind feels in the things because graphic is low and the whole picture kinda appear to be one part of one big creation. Of course, this all happens on a subconscious level. Because of this, the game also feels more alive. It's like reading book. But perhaps this also due to the division of labor. You can feel how different textures and buildings may have a common nature and origin, but they are not a complete and finished part of a single whole. Like the old worlds that were developed by small groups of people or even a single person, in which everything looked very natural and as if it belongs there. There is the subtitles of design and the arrangement of objects that I can understand subconsciously, but I can't explain it conceptually. Perhaps it's because outdated graphics create more space for the brain to imagine. It's like the difference between looking at a book and watching a movie. The better the graphic, the less the parts of our brain involved uh, in involved and responsible for engagement and feeling in the details of environment. You know, this kinda like with books. When you're reading, your imagination working 100%, but when you're watching movie with a good picture, your imagination don't working at all. So I think that's also this difference. When graphic is worse, your brain kinda involving in it and trying to create more good picture. Because when I was a child and I played it in these games, they were looked for me the way better because my imagination worked like 100%, and for me there was no problem in graphic. But it doesn't mean that graphic should be should be bad to enjoy games. It's like everything else should be better, not only graphic. If only graphic evolving and the storytelling and the NPCs and the world is degrading, of course it's not feel natural. But if the game would be interesting by itself, even without graphic, but it will have a good graphic, that means that it's a good game. It's simple. So what I'm trying to say is that the world has simply changed. And because of the vast division of labor and the excessive emphasis on graphic alone, games have truly become less enjoyable. But that's not people's fault, it's the fact that our lives have become 10 times faster and we can no longer keep up with anything in this wheel of samsara. But in the end, I have good news. In fact, more and more gamers are playing older games and indie games. This way, we as an audience are letting corporations know what we really want. And I think change is already happening, because the percentage of people who prefer older games is really huge. So we've definitely passed our peak, but we still have a chance to rise again. And I believe that it can happen. We just need to make it clear that we don't need remakes and we don't want to live in the past. We need new solutions, new genres, and evolution in this art form. And my personal opinion is that games shouldn't try so hard to copy reality. Games are meant to be played, not to resemble our dreary matrix. Thank you to everyone who has been with me. The best support is watching my videos until the end and writing comments. See you again soon.